Hello,
Hello, everybody, and
and
welcome back
to
to
another
another
episode
episode
of
of This Is Absurd. My name is Tara Barus.
And my name is Arturo Rolone. Hey, Jack, how are you doing?
I'm good, man. How are y'all doing?
Fantastic. I mean, we have the king of New Jersey himself on, but we haven't seen each
Yeah,
other since spring break, huh?
yeah, it's been a long ass time. Was it like what, March 13th or whatever? Like
Something
Something
we
like
all hung out like the night before I left.
right. Yeah, it was the week right before they sent us home.
Yeah.
The end of the week, we all kind of got together to say our farewells, right? You were the hardest one, right? Because we didn't know when we'd ever see you again, with you living in New Jersey and all. But I don't know, man. How's it been? How's it been kind of up there? Because I know it's a little bit more, or at least at the get go, in New York and New Jersey were more hard hit than Texas.
Oh yeah, for sure. Like I didn't leave my house apart from like going outside to like play soccer with my brother. But like that was just us two like in an empty ass park, which was illegal to do at the time. Like I didn't leave my house from the day I got home, which was March 13th, until uh probably like April. Like, I didn't leave until April. I was stuck
Crazy.
there, and like the crazy thing was like the first week we were there, my sisters came home from Europe. So my two older sisters, one was in Spain, one was in London. Um, they came home and they brought Corona.
Seriously?
really?
You didn't
Yeah,
tell
so
us
we
that.
all so
Oh my
we all
god.
had it. Like the six of us had it. I was the only one in my family that didn't have symptoms, which is surprising because I get sick all the time. So
That's
I was
right.
really excited that I didn't get
Uh,
it.
I remember when
Um,
we would walk to 401 and you'd always just have, or you had that cough for the longest time.
yeah, I know. It was like, and as soon as I got home, it went away.
But then you
Like
got
Corona,
Corona.
like totally good. No, yeah,
Yeah.
awesome. Um,
But yeah, no
but yeah,
symptoms.
what was that?
You got no symptoms. Like
I
everyone
didn't
out of
have
your
all the
family
symptoms.
had it, but you didn't have any symptoms.
Yeah,
That's crazy.
yeah. And
That's
then
crazy.
I was at the doctor's yesterday, and I got like hella blood tests for like my own health issues, and I got the antibody test, and they were like, I finally found out that we officially had it.
Hey, well,
Wow.
silver lining, right? I mean, you didn't have any symptoms, and
Yeah.
you have the antibodies for it. But I mean, that's great. How's it looking up there now? Right, like,
Now,
kind of end of
I mean,
summer.
it's it's pretty bad. Like
Yeah,
people just once summer started, people just stopped giving a fuck.
sure.
Like they were just like, you know what? It's hot outside. It's nice outside. Corona doesn't exist anymore. And like it's been so bad for me because like I'm a very social but antisocial person. Like I don't like meeting new people
Mhm.
as it is. But once this started, like it got even worse because like now when I see people, I'm like, go back to your house. Like don't get close to me. Like just
Yeah,
back up.
yeah,
That's
yeah. You wouldn't
funny.
even let me give you a hug when we parted ways back in March.
I don't think I hugged anybody when we left because of
Yeah.
Corona fears.
Well, Jack. I mean, some friendships, surpass Corona fears. Okay.
Some do, like me and Arthur's.
Yeah.
Okay. Well.
See, he voted for my intro too, so.
It was so much better. It wasn't even close.
Yeah. Well, copyright issues. Okay. But yeah,
Arthur,
speaking of that,
your intro actually reminded me of your mom's house podcast with Tom Segura and his wife. Like
Yeah?
their long ass intro. That's what it reminded me of, and I
No,
loved it.
they do have a long ass intro. I haven't listened to their podcast in a while, but what I like about their intro is that it's unique,
Mm,
right? They stick stuff in from the show, and maybe once we get bigger, we'll redo the intro, and we'll have a better one, a custom made one,
for
rather
sure.
than just pulling up samples.
right,
But
right. What was it? Speaking about the intro, though, the intro is going to be what debuted on this episode, this very special episode, with Jack.
and this episode maybe will be the first video episode
Yeah, on
too.
YouTube.
So
That'd be
We're
cool.
thinking about, if because this is the first episode we've done over Zoom. And so we want to try and put this up on YouTube as well, kind of, expand into new territories.
Yeah.
So
Should have cleaned my room. I look crazy.
no, 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 no. We want to get like the genuine experience. But yeah, so you were saying that you were trapped in your house till you said like April-ish.
Yeah, until like April, and then like we went to phase two, sort of, which was minor things were opening, like parks had opened barely. And then I had gone to see Priscilla, my girlfriend, a couple times. But like even when I was at her house, it was like social distancing. I didn't go inside for the first couple times I was over there. Um, like, I didn't say hi to her parents. Like I did, but like didn't hug her. Well, I hugged her because it's different. But um, I was like social distance while
Were
there.
they
And then
okay?
what was that?
Were they okay?
Yeah, they were fine. Like they had no problems. Just super lucky because her parents are older. Like her dad's in her because she's one of nine, and her dad is in his 60s. So obviously he's more at risk. Um,
Mm.
but they were all fine. Like they no one got sick, no symptoms, nothing like that.
So it's like I just wanted to ask you because in Texas, at least when we were kind of moving into May, a lot of people felt that the complete shutdown that everyone experienced back in like March and April was an overreaction, was an overcorrection. But you being in, the Northeast where it was perhaps more serious, do you think it was an overreaction the first time around?
No, not
No.
even close. Because like I was New Jersey's the second worst state when it comes to Corona. Like New York, and I'm from Newark, so like I'm a 10-minute train ride from Manhattan.
Hop and a skip, huh?
Yeah, so I could fucking walk there. Um,
Yeah.
so like I don't really know many people that had it and were like seriously affected by it. So I'm very lucky in that sense. But like a lot of my friends had grandparents, both their grandparents died
Jesus.
from it, or cousins that died, or things like that. And like one of my closest friends, his grandma had cancer like prior to the whole outbreak of Corona. So like he didn't even stay at his house because that's where she lived because he did not want to even risk that. So he stayed with me for a month.
Wow.
So things like that. So like we felt it more, and like obviously in Texas and it was everywhere but fucking New Jersey and New York.
Yeah,
It's a
I
lot more
guess.
spread out. You know, it's a lot more spread out. You have more space, and you guys didn't feel it as bad, but now you're gonna feel it more, which sucks.
Yeah. I mean, even right now, because me and Arturo live in like a small town, we're still like, even with the spikes, we're still not feeling, the pressures of it.
You're
But I'm
so
sure.
lucky, by the way.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. We
Thank
won
you.
the lottery. But once we get back to Austin, I'm sure we'll feel some of the pressure again. Um, but yeah, it's just interesting how you get like a completely different perception on it if you're just living in like a state like Texas versus living in the Northeast. I don't know. I wanted to hear your, I don't know, experience from March onwards because we haven't, I guess, kept up, with each other that much.
So how's it like what are your thoughts of like going to UT during this time?
So my thing is, I still don't think it's gonna open. There's like I think UT is just saying we're gonna be here in person, we're gonna be here in person and all that. But in reality, March 15th or whatever, they're gonna be like, you know what, no shots happening because it's gonna be you guys are gonna be in the heart of it. Like Austin's gonna be riddled and filled with corona. The
Yeah,
hospitals are
Austin
gonna be
and
overloaded.
Dallas are the hardest hit.
Yeah, and it's not gonna go away in a month and a half. Like it'll probably get a little worse because that's just I think how it's gonna go. So I think we're not gonna go back. They're just saying we are to get our money, and then we're just gonna be online.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
Which is upsetting. That is very upsetting
yeah.
because
For sure.
I wouldn't be surprised if what you're saying is true for most universities here in Texas.
Oh, definitely.
Right. And it's also unfortunate because, the way it works in most colleges, people sign their leases back in the fall or beginning of the spring semester.
I
So
did. That's why I signed mine.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. I mean, us too, right? So, a lot of people feel trapped, right? Like they have this expensive lease. I mean, West Campus is so expensive, so expensive. And people are trapped with these expensive leases. And I mean, if you go at the UT 23 page, endless amounts of just subleases. This is a perfect time for people who are like, too lazy during the school year to find a lease, like an Alex Pineda.
Mm-hmm.
This is like prime time, come out.
He's ready
What
to
we were
go.
saying is that maybe Alex is just a genius because he never signed a lease, and now there are a lot more people offering subleases and not as many people like wanting to get a lease. So he has a lot more bargaining power when it comes to signing a lease.
Yeah.
So
No, it's crazy. He's so fucking lucky.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know if he's a genius or if he's lucky. Probably just a mix of it. Maybe more luck. Who knows?
Definitely more luck.
Shout out Alex.
Uh, yeah, that's just one thing that I do at least I think would be a silver lining, even if we all go back to UT and the amount of exposure on campus for us is minimal, is that we would all be able to hang out again, perhaps, right? With all this kind of potential lockdown, looming over everyone's shoulder. I mean, the governor of Texas said we're not going to do a complete shutdown again. He was pretty adamant about that, but I mean, I don't know. You can't predict a virus. You can't
He
predict
did
what's going to
threaten
happen.
lockdown though. He threatened to go into lockdown if whatever happened.
Yeah, well, that's the weird thing. Like he has to appease, everyone. He has to say to the people who are protesting the bars being shut down, he has to say, no, we're not going to go into lockdown again. But then, the people who are horrified for what's going to happen in the fall, like say educators, right, going into a classroom with kids who are less likely to get, actual symptoms, but can spread it just as much, or fearing that they're going to, really end up perhaps like, with an illness that could end their life or that they could spread to their children. So it's a weird situation. It's a weird situation. Your girlfriend, she goes to Rutgers.
Yeah, Rutgers
Yeah.
North.
Oh, do you know what they're doing?
They're closed. Like they're not gonna go back.
Mm,
Like but like that was expected, and we knew that was gonna happen.
sure.
And my thing is, uh, like us hanging out and stuff. I think we'll be able to because we're a pretty small group. It's like what 10, 11 of us,
Yeah.
and if we can contact trace and shit like that, I don't think it's a big deal. But like just going to like frat parties or different parties and stuff, like there's no way
Yeah, I don't think that's
I'm
gonna
not going to
happen.
one. Like
Yeah,
y'all
that's
can
not
go.
the move. No, that's not the move.
It's either gonna be going to your place, going to our place, going to the new 401.
Mhm.
I don't think we're going to throw or going to go to big parties where stupid stuff can happen.
No shot. And by the way, I'm so excited that we're all in West Campus now because now me and Arthur don't have to walk a mile every fucking day.
I know. I'd always feel bad for you guys. Like when the three of us would kind of walk back together from 401. I was on the edge of West Campus, but then y'all still had to walk back towards campus in like Jester. And for those
We're
of you who
deep.
aren't familiar with UT, like how far do you think West Campus is to like Jester, or I guess 401 to Jester?
401 was a mile.
Yeah,
Yeah, it
was
was
a
a
mile.
mile and some.
yeah. You guys
So-
always had a long walk. I mean, I'm sure it was especially miserable when it was like 2 or 3 a.m.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Unless we were inebriated, because
Yeah,
then like
yeah.
you're drunk, you can just walk forever.
yeah. What about your roommate? Would he ever like
Tony?
be upset with you coming in late?
Tony V, nah. Tony
Nah.
V was always out later than I was.
He was a foreign exchange student, right?
No.
Not exchange
Well,
student.
kind of. Like he was a foreign
International
exchange
student.
in his high school.
Okay.
He just stayed.
Okay. I was just curious because I know that there's been a lot of talk as well about like not letting or what they're gonna do with international students. That
Well,
go
he
to
never
overseas.
went back to Vietnam. He stayed in Austin.
Oh, I see.
wow.
I see. Yeah.
Well, I think that those long walks really did bond us together.
Definitely.
They were
Yeah.
fun, and what I really enjoyed, and why like we wanted to have you at least. I think we wanted to have you on the podcast was we would always have long conversations about history, whatever. So the type of conversations that Tarek and I have, same conversations that Jack and I have, or
Yeah.
you had with Tarek. So
Yeah.
you're
Basically,
an amazing
Tarek
guest.
proving Jack's wrong. When
You know what's crazy? Tark's only got me once with one thing, and it was an unfair circumstance. We were talking about.
we're talking about the Henry the third, fourth, and fifth.
And
Right?
he was sober.
Say that again.
He was sober and abusing me. That
Yeah, I
I
was.
was misremembering something, and he just kept. And I went. I'm pretty stubborn, so I refuse to admit when I'm wrong.
Mm-hmm.
So I just kept attacking him. He's like, "You're definitely wrong on this one." And he looked it up, Wikipedia and everything. I still didn't admit I was wrong.
No, I know that was the funniest part. I pulled it up on my phone on Wikipedia, and you read it over like very slowly to make sure you knew what you were reading. Like, nah, that's not right. But yeah, I miss those kind of conversations. We I think our back and forth, our love-hate relationship. You act so mean to me all the time, but I think it just means how much you do probably miss me right now, huh?
kind of. You know what I really,
Kind of.
I really miss when like us three and Pat and Alex
Yeah.
would just be speaking in different languages.
Oh yeah,
You'd be
yeah.
speaking Portuguese, me, Arturo, and Pat would be speaking Spanish, and then Alex would be speaking his version of Italian,
Right.
and we'd always
Yeah.
be trying to understand each other.
Yeah. It was chaotic. It was chaotic.
Super fun though.
It was very fun. Like we would just walk out and it seemed like a I don't know. Like it would like I guess from an outsider's perspective, like a group of drunk international students. Unless those people knew those languages, then it'd just be like a group of people who speak these languages very poorly. you know. But yeah, I miss that. I miss those kind of like little memories, right? Um, so hopefully we can have some kind of version of that back in the fall. Just us, hanging out together at one of our places. Um,
Definitely.
yeah, you're living with Alejandro,
Alejandro and Ethan.
Ethan. Yeah, Alejandro and Ethan are two of our.
Two of the guys in 401.
Yeah, but that's exciting. That's exciting. University house, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
It's something new now, though, right?
Ion, right?
What?
They changed the name of
Oh,
University
it's like
House.
the Ion or whatever.
Yeah, Ion. Yeah. No, but that's a nice place. It's pretty close to campus too. I mean, not that it matters how close you are to campus at this point, because we're likely not going to go on there. I mean, I told Arturo this. I don't have any classes in person. Everything of mine's online. Very
What about
sad.
you, Arturo?
I have, out of my 5 classes, one of them is a hybrid class. So I'm going to have to go to campus some days.
Got it.
But other than that, it's all online.
Yeah.
And like you said, maybe it goes to all online and we just don't go to, no, we just don't go to campus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a shame though. Like I miss the PCL. I like the PCL.
I don't.
You don't? That massive.
I really
library?
I wouldn't really ever go to the PCL.
Oh, well, you guys are weird.
Too
There's that
distracting.
one time. What?
It's too distracting for me. Like I just,
It's too distracting. How?
yeah. I don't know why. Like I've been in there. I could count how many times I've been in there on one hand.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Me too. Me too.
Well, something that we didn't, have you tell the listeners, like, what's your major? We didn't even let them tell you what
Oh
you
yeah. I
studied.
didn't even introduce myself. So
Yeah.
let me restart. I'm Jack Napoli. I'm from Newark, New Jersey.
Hey,
But I kind of lived all over the world. You feel me?
yeah, Mr. Worldwide.
In Atlanta, Delaware, Madrid. Well, Delaware twice, but fuck Delaware, shit's ass. Then I go to UT, history major. I'm gonna be a sophomore, and that's about it.
Yeah. No, that's when you told me you were a history major. Like, I instantly, I was so excited because, like, I love history. But it's cool. That is cool that you lived all over the place, right? You said Madrid? I didn't know that you lived in Madrid.
Yeah, I was born in Delaware, and then like a year later we moved to Madrid for like 5 years.
Really?
hmm
Why'd you guys live in Madrid?
My dad's job. We
Okay.
moved just because of my dad. Like,
Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah, but that's cool. That is cool. You're an international man, huh?
oh yeah.
Yeah. No, that is very cool though. What was I gonna say? I was gonna ask you about like in New Jersey right now. What's like the kind of like going forward? Are they saying that like they're gonna go back into complete shutdown? They're gonna close down the businesses, or no? Is it kind of still kind of looking better going into the fall?
What phase are y'all in?
I think I have not been keeping up with the news recently because after just being so in it during like lockdown, I kind of was just like need a break for about a year from hearing people
I
talk
don't
about
blame you.
Corona and all that. But last I heard was we're in like phase 4, so they're planning on opening even more things.
Okay.
Like hair salons are open, nail salons, whatever it's called, that's open. Six Flags is gonna be open, which is
Jesus.
crazy. Like who would want to go to Six Flags
Right now, yeah.
like this with like kids spitting and screaming everywhere?
Yeah.
I don't even know how you clean that. Anywho, the outlook is it's just getting better and better. So there's no reason as to why we'd have to go back to lockdown and quarantine. It's just maintaining social distance, within the new things, like the things that were slowly getting back.
Right.
So I'm just assuming that you haven't really been up to much, huh?
No, I haven't. Apart from, so like basically, we finished our semester, right? Like, and I spent most of that just doing work because for some reason, some of my classes decided to give more work when we were online,
Yeah.
which was ridiculous to me. I was like, that's so dumb. Anyways, we finished. All I've really been doing is going up to see Priscilla or helping my sister write her capstone for her master's degree,
Oh
which she
wow.
graduated today, by the way. Shout out.
Hey, from
Hey,
where? From where?
It's in Spain,
Oh, okay. Well, that's awesome.
IE in Spain. I don't know.
So was she doing it online?
Yeah,
Like, oh, that's really interesting.
yeah,
Wait,
it was hard.
was she going to a university in Spain, or was it like some kind of bridge program with like another like U.S. university?
So it's called IE.
Okay.
I don't know what it stands for, but it's like a European, I think based in Spain
Okay.
master's program. It was a 10-month thing. And she got her master's in international relations. So it was like based in Spain, all that, and she had to just do it online here, which
That's
was
crazy.
brutal because
Yeah, it sounds
like
brutal.
learning anything online is hard, but at the master's level,
Sure.
it was in English, so it
Yeah.
wasn't that like there wasn't a language barrier or anything. I mean, she speaks perfect Spanish, but still, it was just like crazy because she did a capstone, which was a group project with kids at a kid that was in China, uh, one in Spain, like one in England, and then another girl in the U.S. But they never saw each other,
wow.
so it
That's
was like a
crazy.
difficult situation.
It takes a lot of self-discipline, right? That's what I mean. Whenever we were doing it, at least I felt really lazy in doing my work. I wouldn't even turn on the camera, wake up 2 minutes before the Zoom call actually starts, uh, and like to do that at the master's level, to be more disciplined and actually
Want to hear
complete
the crazy
everything.
part?
What?
Want to hear the crazy part? She had to account
Yeah.
for time change, so she would be
She's
up at
what?
3 in the morning every day,
Oh,
Oh
jeez.
God.
Yeah, that makes it even harder. I mean,
and like it's not like she had class like twice a week, 3 times a week. It was every Monday through Friday, 3 a.m. to like 10 a.m.
so would she just like live on that time schedule and like sleep during the day, or like take like would she just have like live on, I don't know, the time schedule that she was
Spain
in
time.
Spain?
Kinda, yeah. I mean, she would go to bed early, but she would go to bed at like 8:39, which
Isn't like
is
super
early
late.
for us, but still not that early. So
Yeah.
she would be up from 3 to. I mean, she would nap occasionally, but she would be up. Like it's not like the rest like we didn't see her. She was up with us.
Yeah. I mean, that's crazy, but that's a really good point. Like people who are finishing either say their master's or some kind of graduate level
Hmm.
degree, or even like med school or say law school, online. I mean, it's uh it's interesting to think how they're going to be thrown into the world, right? Having their education, perhaps. I mean, not in the case of your sister, but I think sometimes it's particularly like med students, right? Finishing their last year of medical school, or maybe entering medical school is more applicable because I guess their last year of medical school, they're probably more in the field, right?
Hmm.
But say their first couple years, when you're really trying to learn some of the more like, I guess, not theoretical, but, like learning more textbook type things, right?
Yeah.
Then to go into the field online seems really difficult. Like, I don't know what kind of future of doctors and engineers and
You're a
the
Corona graduate. You're a COVID
you're a Corona
graduate.
graduate. I was
Mhm.
telling the the guys on our Zoom call earlier this week, like when I become a lawyer, I'm going to look for those cases where people are like, suing for malpractice on the basis of Corona education, and like
Word.
find those loopholes, man. I told Jason and Caleb I'll be their lawyers when they build like a bad bridge or something. You know. But yeah, it's an interesting. The next 10 to 20 years is really going to be interesting in terms of like the people who graduated from universities with the whole Corona situation going on. So yeah, I hope this doesn't lead to like also like a spike in unemployment, right? People entering the workforce when jobs aren't exactly uh, available in mass. So I don't know.
I hope, or No, I doubt there's going to be any. Uh, sorry if you hear like outside noise.
Yeah.
I doubt there's
Someone's
going
mowing the
to
lawn.
be any like rec sports too, because you were our captain. You were our best player on 401 FC.
What a
Yeah.
team. That was such a fun team. I can't believe you didn't join it, Tarek.
I was busy.
Doing what? It was
School.
once a week for
Yeah,
an
I
hour.
know. I know. I guess I wasn't super into soccer in the first place. But I guess most people on the team didn't really have any background experience in soccer. I
The
mean,
only people that
Alejandro,
did
I
was
remember
me,
saying he never
Ferris, and
played
Alex.
soccer before 401 FC, right? Yeah.
It
You
was
can
just
always
fun.
join. It was
Yeah.
fun. It was super fun.
I hope we get another opportunity like that then, because I'll definitely do it for sure. Never again.
It's not gonna happen. Not this year, at least.
No,
No,
yeah. I mean, I expect that. But y'all played in the spring, so, but
They
still,
actually, like, so maybe, yeah.
I don't know. I mean, if you had to give like a prediction, like just a gut feeling right now, do you think the spring will be better in terms of corona, or do you think we're still going to be in a similar situation that we are now?
So my thought is like I think that especially like down in the warmer states like Texas and all that, it's gonna be a lot better because supposedly the heat kills corona and doesn't do as well in warmer climates. So I think because it gets warm in Texas in fucking February, like
Yeah.
it was 50 degrees in February, which is foreign to me. Um,
Yeah.
but I don't think it'll be that bad come come spring semester 2021 because you would hope that they have a vaccine by then or some sort of concrete treatment for it.
Hmm.
Um, I think they will because you have doctors literally all over the world trying to figure it out. I think we
Yeah.
can by then.
Whoever makes
Um,
the vaccine or treatment that's effective is going to make a killing, in how much money they're going to reel in.
I hope they're not like that AIDS uh, doctor guy.
the Martin Shkreli guy.
Yeah,
Yeah,
who like raised the price of like some AIDS medication by like 400% out of nowhere.
Yeah. Yeah.
that's just the reputation as a guy because he also like Wu Tang released one album
Mhm.
and it was just like one copy ever, and he's the guy that bought it, and I think he just displays it above his toilet, something like that. He just shows no respect to it.
Jeez.
I think he actually got arrested,
Oh,
if
wow.
I'm not.
Good.
Well, I
Fuck
mean,
that.
he seems like like I don't know a lot about this person in particular, but he sounds like a crooked guy. I'm not surprised he got arrested. Um, one thing I wanted to ask you, because the Northeast in general swings more blue, right? So how are you feeling about this upcoming election?
Oh,
Yeah,
fuck Trump. That's all I gotta say about that. Fuck
yeah,
Trump. It's just like it's so wild to me. Just hearing the things he says and reading his tweets.
hmm,
The fact that he hasn't really said anything in support of the Black Lives Matters movement just shows how tone deaf, stupid, and just illogical he is as a person. Because like even if he doesn't believe it, which is a problem in and of itself, a smart politician would kind of play both sides, right?
yeah,
Like he
like
would
a
have
slick
his
bill.
main belief, but still kind of be like, hey, I fuck with the other side because I want your votes, right? He's not even doing that.
Hmm.
So
No, I agree.
he's so stupid. And I mean, he he never had my vote. Like I'd vote for a
Kanye.
baby before I voted for him. I'd vote for I can't think of anybody worse than him. So I'd vote for anybody but him.
Hmm.
But like now it's just getting so like I don't believe half the shit that he says anymore. Because like
Sure.
it doesn't seem real anymore.
Yeah. No,
So I'm
I think
voting for him.
that's an important point you made about the illogical thing, right? Because like that's how he won in the first place. Like those moderate Democrats, in kind of the Midwest area who were disillusioned with the Democratic Party, felt like they weren't representing the average worker. And so that's how he won in the first place. So you would think that he would try to do that same method again, but it seems like he's not really helping himself out with anybody other than his like core base that follows him around like
It
like
also
a
just
loyal
goes.
army.
It also just goes to show you how like, addictive populism is, and like anybody can fall into that trap. It's not like populism is just a right wing thing.
Hmm.
It can also be a left wing thing. Just saying the stuff that makes you feel good without
Hmm.
actually putting forward any policy. But
Right.
I don't know. Hopefully, and that's like what we've talked about. That if we take this into a dialectic of sorts, like a Hegel's dialectic, where you have a thesis, antithesis, synthesis being the answer that comes out of two overcorrections, that maybe it could be potentially, or I would love to see delayed gratification, where people just realize, all right, he's just saying pretty things to me, regardless of what politician it is.
Hmm.
They're just saying pretty things to me, and we should look further or look at real solutions.
Yeah. You hear this guy talking about Hegel? This is how much I've been
No,
talking philosophy into his ear
that's what I'm
the
saying.
past couple months.
That's
But
fire.
but yeah, I think we should see some debates. I don't think they're going to happen with all of the with the fear of Corona and them both being two elderly, very elderly men. But we should see both of them on stage. Um, I don't like the debate format that CNN or Fox or I mean just generally like mainstream media, like those debates. I mean, they don't go into issues in complex ways, but they should still get up there, and we should see these guys answer questions about, say, Black Lives Matter or Corona or whatever, and see how they sound up against each other.
I want to see a debate so bad because
Hmm.
I just want to know how long it'll take for Trump to make fun of Biden's stutter. I
I
just want
mean,
to see how
It's
long
true.
it'll take.
it's
That's
probably going
all
to be
it'll
his
take.
opening statement.
It definitely will be.
Yeah, I just even if they do it over like Zoom, it needs to happen. Like they need
Mhm.
to argue with each other. So, and I'm sure like the Democratic or the DNC is like doing everything in their power to not have a debate because they don't want to see Biden go up there and not be able to answer questions when pressure's put on him. And not saying Trump is a great debater, but he's like the kind of guy who's just going to keep pounding at you. You know,
Yeah, he knows how to talk. He is
he
a good
knows how to
talker.
talk. Yeah, he knows how to talk.
I
He's
hate to
like
give him
that.
credit. I hate to give him credit for anything, but he's a bullshitter. That's what he's good at.
Yeah, I mean, like I would just out of curiosity go back and see like old videos of him like just coming after Ted Cruz, who's like a career politician, right? And back in like 2016 or 2015 when they were doing the Republican debates. And I mean, this guy, like you said, he's a bullshitter. He just comes after you, comes after or certain aspects about your, say, career or personal life that have a hint of truth and just hammer at them and
Mm,
embarrass you in front of everyone and feel like you can't really answer because you're just like fumbling with your words because like this guy is just spewing bullshit at you.
exactly.
So it's tricky. It's tricky. But I do still want to see a debate. I think everyone deserves to see a debate at
I
this point.
I think there'll be there. There'll definitely be one.
If nothing happens between either of these two candidates, then I just don't see it as really being, I don't know, fair, or this election is just so weird to me because first off, the people that are put up for nominees, and then as well the conditions, the state that we're in as a country with Corona, with Black Lives Matter, everything that's going on in the world. There's so much to talk about, and if they just don't have an avenue to speak about it, rather than or instead of just Twitter, where no one is really giving them a rebuttal or debating against them,
Yeah.
then
You get a rebuttal, but it's like thousands of comments from people who are just trying to get a reaction out of you, not debate you.
Twitter is
So,
it's
so
also not
Twitter's,
like the person you're going up against.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
Twitter's so bad.
Twitter
Like
is terrible.
I recently got on Twitter a couple months ago. I follow about 12 people. Um, and like that's it. Like I don't tweet anything. I don't do anything like that. I just like have people send me memes on Twitter.
Sure.
That's the only reason I have it.
Yeah.
But remember when J. Cole dropped Snow on the Bluff a couple weeks ago,
Right.
Yeah.
and he took
Yeah.
some. Everyone was saying he's taking shots at No Name and stuff like that. When he really wasn't, he was just trying to praise her and be like, "Look, you're a
Yeah.
huge voice in this, but you got to build us up, not just criticize everybody for not knowing as much as you do."
Sure.
I went through countless tweets because it was trending, so I just clicked on it. I was so triggered because I'm a huge J. Cole fan, as y'all know, like, and I was so triggered by the fact that everyone could say something, and a lot of it was just trolls just being trolls,
Right.
and that just made me think because like, I don't know how anyone could be a celebrity at a time like this. Like, how do you handle it? Because
Yeah.
everything
Because
you do is wrong.
people criticize you for inaction and action, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like there's like we were talking about, you were texting me about the Dave Chappelle thing, and a lot of people were coming after him for, you know, being a well-known, famous comedian using, coming down from his ivory tower, like people
Mm-hmm.
like to say, and talking about this movement and not really doing comedy. But at the same time, people will criticize a person similar to him for inaction, for not doing anything, for just sitting behind and just watching from the sidelines. But I don't know. I don't know. I like what Dave Chappelle said about this is like the time for the people, for like the common people, the
The
people on
streets
the
is watching.
ground to lead the movement. You don't need someone to come down from their ivory tower.
No,
The
you
streets
don't
is
need to do
right
that.
now.
But you don't need someone to come down from their ivory tower. You don't need a celebrity to lead the way, right? But
Mm-hmm.
I wholeheartedly do believe that there needs to be a leader, a concrete leader to stand behind that will take the flame from the politicians, that can communicate with the politicians and also denounce fringe opinions that, you know, are just people trying to take advantage of the movement as well. That's what I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah, sort of agree with that, but I think that's a very with technology and social media the way it is now. I don't think we need that one person, that one guy, that one girl, that one figure to head it. Because I think just with the countless videos that you've seen of, or we've seen of protests and people coming together and things like that, I think that speaks volumes to the way this movement is working because it feels different now.
Hmm.
Because there have been protests in the past, like when Michael Brown got shot and all that, there were protests in Missouri. It was Missouri, right?
I
I
think
believe
so.
so.
Yeah, in Missouri. And like, I remember thinking, like, okay, like change can happen. But then 2 weeks later, it fizzled out.
Sure.
It's been more than 2 weeks since Breonna Taylor was murdered. It's been more than 2 weeks since George Floyd was murdered. And it's still not fizzled out. So it feels different. And there's still not that one leader that's taken charge. And
I
that's why I don't
Well,
think we need that anymore.
what I would argue is more of, everything that's led up to this. Everyone is inside, or the people were inside, and they were, I guess, the steam was just bubbling up, and then the George Floyd situation happened, and it just blew the lid off,
Mm-hmm.
right? And everything exploded, and that's why it has been able to like remain as big as it has, among other things too. I think the situation is completely different, and it's new, but because globally people were inside, that I believe was, you could say, kind of it added to the fact that it was able to become a global movement as well. I'm trying to think of the word, not um like a real, I'm thinking in terms of workout. uh it'll come to me, but
what
I think it was for that fact that it helped it to grow globally. I just don't, a decentralized way of a movement like a Twitter, you just see videos going on, and people are getting angry about it, right? And they protest, and these mass protests happen. But at the same time, politicians aren't really having any action towards it. There have been some city policies like the Colorado thing that we
that's
talked
what I was gonna
about.
say. Like this movement is still going on, and that's amazing, and it should still keep going on. But Colorado has been the only state to end qualified immunity, right? Shouldn't all states have done that by now? That's why there's some benefit to having a leader who coordinates with the government, like an MLK or a Nelson Mandela, two leaders who in the past have overthrown either racist policy or racist regimes. They worked very close hand in hand with the government to make those changes. And so I get what you mean, how decentralization is important because it allows anyone to join, everyone's voice to be heard. All atrocities are allowed to be showed. No one has control of what's being showed. And I think that's the special thing about Twitter, for all, the evils that come with it, being trapped in your own little echo chambers and trolls and people who just want to get a reaction out of you. But having a leader to take that potential on Twitter, that democratization of social media, and show it to the leaders in power to make a change, I think there's something special and important about that.
But also say that, hey, this is the new battleground. I mean, you're a big World War II history guy, history buff, right? D-Day, all of us, right? All the Allied powers, the armies of Canada, the United Kingdom, the United States, and others, the French, we went to the beaches of Normandy and attacked the Germans from that front, right? We didn't go put some people in Normandy, some people on the Isles or coast of Africa attacking the Netherlands. The army was together and said, this is the plan, and we're attacking here first. Once we capture that, we'll move on to the next target. I think if we just are spread out, right? If the movement is just too spread out and attacking everywhere at once, I don't think that is as effective at putting policy forward.
Wait, just a quick side note for my history major friend Jack. When they did invade Normandy, didn't they also have an Africa offensive as well? Like that they were going to move up through Africa and then get rid of Italy from northern Africa.
I'm gonna be super embarrassed, but I have no idea.
Okay, I
have no idea.
I thought they had like two offensives. Anyway, sorry. Yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, Arturo.
All right. Well, D-Day was a big situation. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, I get you 100%. My thing is like, I think it's in an ideal world to be able to do that, where we'd have that those one or two, or that group of people that connect the streets with government, so we can have that discourse and things can change. But also, like, the US is built on the idea of freedom, right? And that every state has its own freedom. It can become its own country like that, right? That's the idea, right? We're United States, but we're states first. So like, I think it's hard to get like that entire united front with regards to this movement. And I think it's easier to just focus within your own state and make change there. Like Camden, New Jersey, which is one of the most dangerous parts of Jersey. A couple years ago, I think about like in like 2012, they fired everyone in their police department, everybody, and said, if you want to work here, you have to reapply, go to get new training that is more focused on like just better practices of policing. And because it was super corrupt in Camden. I should have said that before. Super corrupt in Camden. Minorities were getting abused by the police and things like that.
How far is Camden from Newark?
Over an hour.
Okay.
It's like central Jersey.
Okay.
And Newark is northeast Jersey. So they revamped it, and there haven't been. I mean, there are still problems in Camden. Don't get me wrong, but like it's gotten a hell of a lot better, and the crime there has gone down, and police brutality is practically non-existent in Camden.
Mm-hmm.
And like, there wasn't a celebrity figurehead. Not that it needs to be a celebrity, but you know what I'm saying? There wasn't that guy that
central
that
figure.
Fixed it. Yeah, it wasn't that guy that fixed it. So I think if, like, in your town, you fix it. In your state, in your county, you fix it. In your state, you fix it. Then when we get enough states, that's when more change will happen. But like, I just don't think it's feasible to have that figure anymore, because no one's perfect. So and Twitter fingers are crazy nowadays. So people are gonna find dirt on everybody and just bring you down no matter what. Like you could be a perfect person, bro. Like Kevin Hart.
Yeah,
Like Dave Chappelle talked about how Kevin Hart is a perfect person, and right before he was about to host the Oscars, they found everything bad about him, and he wasn't allowed to host it anymore.
it was the gay jokes he made, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that is
So it's
true.
like I just don't like it's a and I like ideally it would work better with that because I totally agree with you, Arturo, that it's better that way because then you have that leader, that person that can connect it all. But I just don't think it's feasible.
I think that's a good point though. What you're talking about, like making change in your town first, because then rather than trying to make change from the top down, you're trying to start from the bottom and then move up. Because what people want, ideally, right, is to see change in the most salient way possible. And what does that mean? That means you're seeing change in your hometown. You're seeing
Mm,
change in the lives of the people closest to you, your neighbors, or your city council, or like the Camden Police Department. Like you're seeing change in places closest to you. So I think that would really does make the biggest difference for people, even if they want to see uh, like a Martin Luther King type figure shaking hands with Donald Trump, saying that they're going to end the issue of racism, but then people are still getting abused in your hometown by authority figures. So that is a really good point.
Maybe it's just me, but I don't think a leader should be perfect. Ideally, they
Oh,
would, right? But
100%. I
you're
agree with
not
you.
going to find a perfect leader. Also, if it was perfect, what does that mean for someone who likes pizza and say, well, that leader likes pizza, they're the perfect leader, but there are people that don't like pizza. I know my sister's one of them, which is crazy. Uh, so it wouldn't be the perfect leader. For example, my sister, just a small issue. So it's hard to find that perfect leader. You're always going to have haters. I still believe that there should be ways and emphasis on how to bring a leader, and it doesn't even have to be one movement. Although a united group would be amazing. In the civil rights movement, you had your Malcolm X, you had your MLK, you had other civil rights leaders, right, that were leading the movement. It wasn't just one person. Uh, I just feel that if you were to maybe make this movement, um, I don't want to say militaristic like an army, but try to occupy one city and then just protest until something happens in that city and then move on to the next one and the next one. And now you target the capital. Now you got the state's done. Let's move on to the next one. It's going to be hard, but if there were ways to think about how that could happen and put that forward, I think that that's not a bad idea.
I think it can be done both ways, though. Like if you look at apartheid South Africa, like Nelson Mandela and the ANC, they were the big dogs. They were like the people that the media talked about the most.
Mm.
They were the party that came into power after the apartheid government got um, removed. But at the same time, there was also smaller wings, smaller groups that still operated, still represented their voices, like the South African Communist Party. There was this other like native or groups that represented like native constituencies, like an IFP or a Zulu party. And so I think it can be done both ways. I think what Arturo was trying to get at is that there could, even if it doesn't have to be one united front, it could be a coalition that everyone has a similar goal in mind, right?
The reason why I bring this up is really more of your small towns, right? And your small town may be divided, and the majority of the people don't see the problem that is happening in, uh, take police reform, don't see a problem in uh, not reforming the police, but the minority is affected by it, right? So if the minority protests and protests, nothing is going to happen. You're going to need people from other parts of your state to come in and make your voice even louder to try and, as much as you can, force the government into a conversation, your local government, the local government of X city, Y city, Z city, and have that conversation and see what reforms can be put forward because the majority is just not going to see it. right?
Yeah.
And I think that's why having a leader that could organize, and I mean there is the Black Lives Matter organization, which I have my own problems with itself, rather than the concept and idea of Black Lives Matter. But if it could be more organized, and you could go to a smaller city where, or a city where the majority is not realizing that, hey, there's a problem here, but the minority is affected, you're going to need more voices to make your voice even louder.
Yeah, I think you're totally right. Like, I think organization is key. Um, if we're ever gonna have some serious and substantial change. I think Newark is super lucky in the sense that we had protests technically, but we all just marched together. Like, it was just the city coming together. Like, Newark is known as one of the most dangerous cities in the country. Its history is rich with racism and destruction and redlining and all these terrible things. But like, when it comes to Black Lives Matters and police brutality, it's like we're kind of the model of what could be. So what am I saying? We have a black mayor who was in the front of the marches. He was in the front. Ross Baraka was up front with everybody.
It's really a
Our
powerful
police,
sign. Yeah.
our police, like the policemen. Guess where they're from? They're from Newark. They're from the same streets that people are selling drugs on, the same streets that people are dying on. So it's like we're not worried about police brutality in Newark. I mean, we have tons of issues. Don't get me wrong, homelessness, um, drug use, and all that. But those are issues that are pretty much impossible to root out. But racism isn't one of them because like we don't have to. The cops aren't profiling anybody because you know the person that you might have to arrest or that you stop, right? Like they're like that's why I think like kind of what you're saying with the organization, we need mayors specifically because those are who are the closest to the people to kind of spark change too. Or we need like a mayor type figure or someone who works with the mayor or a liaison, so to speak, that
Using
has
like a
enough power governmentally to make change and has a loud enough voice within. I don't know what I'm saying, but
No,
Newark
I
is a
think I
good
think I get
model.
what you're getting
Sizable.
at. Like Newark is a in terms of the police and the mayor and just the citizens in general, it's a close knit community. Um,
But what I was, or I would assume that Newark is a very diverse city.
Super.
It's a huge city too, right? Uh, what I was really talking about is more of a like city. Say if you only had two races, and 90% of them were white and 10% were black, and the 10% are extremely affected by what the police do or the policy the city passes, and they're protesting. That's 1 in 10 people.
Mm-hmm.
uh the majority is just going to, like, if they're not affected by it, what's the point in changing it, right? So that's why you would want more people to come into that city and make that voice even louder
mhm,
to, try and enact some change.
For sure.
yeah, yeah. Man, it's
Yeah.
it's a tricky thing. How do you feel about defund the police? Because you were talking about the Camden police situation and how they, I wouldn't say you wouldn't say they defunded the police, but they essentially stripped their apartment,
They revamped the police.
revamped. Okay.
They so it's a difficult. So I hate cops, right?
Hmm.
Who doesn't?
Yeah.
Um,
Everyone gets nervous when you see like an officer roll around.
yeah. So I've never been stopped by a cop in Newark. I've been very fortunate that way. I'm just kind of lucky with driving and stuff. Um,
Okay.
uh, but with regards to defunding them, I don't know. It's part of me wants to be like, yes, I'll come get rid of them, and let's figure out a new way to do this because like it hasn't worked. By and large, it hasn't worked. But I think like defunding the police isn't the only solution. So I think the best is to do similar to the Camden thing and kind of revamp it, fire everybody, like make you earn your stripes again. But also it's like on a national scale, managing that is crazy to me,
Mm,
and not knowing what people are going to be taught when they get to revamped stresses me out on like another level.
sure,
So I don't really have an opinion on that because I'm just too confused and I have too many uh, dueling opinions on it.
sure. That's a problem too, right? I mean, that is in part perhaps an outcome of like Twitter, right? You're exposed to so many issues that are going out in the world, and then you're constantly forming different opinions based on new things that you're seeing because information is like constantly being flooded towards you, right? So it's sometimes hard to say like, hey, this is how I feel about this, and it's okay to change your opinion. If anything, if you feel like you need to change your opinion because of new evidence or a new experience, then yeah, change your opinion. But it is sometimes hard to take a stance when you just feel so conflicted about new, I guess, like, I don't know, stimuluses that are like coming into your attention about what's going on.
Stimuli.
Stimuli, thank you.
I was just about to say that.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, y'all got your point to
But
to correct me today, huh? But yeah, yeah, the defund the police is a tricky one too because people will say, hey, maybe they need more funding to fix the training issue, right? Or maybe they should move funding from the cool weapons that they get to use that are essentially wartime weapons, right? Into training. Um, yeah, I
Who
don't know.
knows? It's a tricky situation.
Yeah.
It's so difficult. I just wish that people would just think like me, you know? Like
We say
why
that
can't
all the time.
everyone, why
We
can't
say
everyone
that all
just
the time.
be cool with each other?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, as long as what you're doing with your life doesn't hurt, like unless you're not hurting other people intentionally, right? Then, live how you want, right? Just don't go in like in enforcing your ideas on others or hurting others.
I mean,
Or like if you're a
I don't
police
know
officer,
too much about that.
just don't kill people. Like it's really that simple. Don't stand on someone's neck for 8 minutes and 46 seconds. Like
Yeah.
these are very basic things. It's so prevalent throughout all of history. As a history major,
Yeah.
I've read a lot about this. It's so prevalent and it's just so mind-boggling to me that it still happens. And it's so ironic how 2020, right? We like to think we're very progressive and proper and we know better and we're smarter than past generations. We're
That's
doing the same
bullshit.
shit.
That's
We're
the
doing the
bull. Yeah, that's
same
bullshit.
exact shit
I
that has
mean,
been happening since fucking Jesus was around, if Jesus was actually around.
yeah. Even before.
Even before, the same shit.
Yeah. I
It's
mean,
so
what
ironic.
have you been seeing stuff? I mean, not even just on the home front, but abroad. I mean, China and the Muslim concentration camps. I mean, I'm hearing horrible things about what's going on over there. They're making the prisoners eat pork. They're cutting off their hair and selling it to like U.S. markets, right? And they're having like Chinese officers like rape some of the prisoners. It's terrible. Like this like echoes like stuff that happened in the 1930s and 40s in Nazi Germany, but we're just
And
sitting
then
by and abiding with it.
and kind of in the US with Japanese internment camps.
Sure, sure.
So like we're not like the US isn't we're not perfect. We suck.
Mhm.
We're terrible. We're just as bad as the countries that we claim to be saving and freeing.
I
We're
think
just as bad.
I think we're the I think there are things that are still bad about us, but I think we are the most free country in the world. And that's like the China issue, what's going on in China, like makes me even more angry when people say that the United States is a fascist country because you're seeing literally concentration camps being set up for a religious minority in a country that has been since Mao like very authoritarian.
Totalitarian, even.
Yeah. So I don't know. At the same time, it's good to point out the shit that's going wrong in your own country because you want to make your country better. You want to make your country, improve, progress. But at the same time, you can't go and say like, "Oh, Republicans are fascists," because there's real fascism, real totalitarianism going on in the world right now.
And
So
just,
Go
go
ahead,
ahead.
Jack.
I was just gonna say, take the civil liberties granted to you just by the First Amendment. I could say the Bill of Rights. Uh, But the idea of that, and that it's concrete in our constitution, of course you could amend it, but it'll be very hard, and I don't know anybody that would want to amend your ability of free speech, of criticizing the government, to peacefully protest, to freedom of press. uh that's a lot of freedoms that even in, for instance, Canada doesn't even, if you say,
Guarantee.
yeah, it doesn't guarantee. If you say one thing, you might actually be taken to court. So
Yeah, so I have issues with that. Like we claim all these freedoms, and I think if you're privileged, you get those freedoms. Um, like if you look like me, right? I'm a white, blue, green-eyed man
Yeah, charming eyes, by the way.
who, thank you, who gets to feel these privileges, I'm free. I If I'm stopped by a police officer, I don't have to worry about saying the wrong thing or reaching somewhere for my wallet, for my license, for my registration, and worry about dying, right? The only time I've ever had to worry about that was I was with my brother, who's black, by the way. Um, we were in a white town. I got pulled over, and the cop knocks on my window. I roll it down. I said, "Hello, sir. What happened?" He said, "You were speeding. You were going, I don't know, 15 miles an hour over the speed limit. Where you headed? Were you in a rush?" And I was like, I'm going to my friend's house. It's right down the road. Sorry about that. I must have missed the sign. And then he looked in the car more, and he saw my brother next to him, who he's really dark. He's from Africa. He's from Burundi. Really dark. He had dreads at the time. And just trying to paint you a better picture of the situation. Cop says, "Who's that?" And I was like, "That's my brother." And I was like, what is he doing? And at that moment, I froze. I was terrified. Right. And that's only a glimpse of what Alex has to go through.
Mhm.
Right. And he's a refugee in Trump's America, which is even scarier.
Yeah.
But like when you say we're the most free country, it's like we're free if you have privilege. If you don't get that privilege, you're not free, because you have people breathing down your neck every day trying to take away the freedom that the US provides. Or like when you say we could peacefully protest, we can't. I can. Realistically, you boys, you men, probably couldn't, which is terrible. Brown men like you, black people cannot do that. You see it all the time. You saw it in New York. Cops drove through a crowd of protesters that were majority minority.
Hmm.
We say we're free. We don't have internment camps. We have private prisons.
Yeah, that's actually something that we did talk about, but they're only like 5% of the complete prison population, though. Or
yeah, it's actually not a lot.
Even public prisons, it's what was it, 75% minority?
I don't know the numbers, but I
It's
do
it's
I
it's,
do
it's
always
like
hear.
it's
Yeah.
distorted.
Maybe it's my ignorance, but I haven't. I'm not afraid of that.
Well, also you're in a small town as well, so that's different.
Yeah. Yeah, with small towns, it could either be for you or against you, right? You could be
That's
in a small
true.
town that's very backwards, but you could also be in a
Well,
small town that's close knit community.
yeah, what's the demographic of your town?
It's majority white,
Mm-hmm.
but
I'd probably
Hispanic
say like
Hispanic is the second largest. Like minority wise, I think
it might be like a 40-60 split now.
40-60 split.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
So, but yeah, largest. It's Texas.
Ish.
Most small towns that you go to, like ours, that's usually the kind of demographic split that you're looking at. Um, but yeah, I get what you mean. There definitely is like a different experience for people who are trying to utilize these civil liberties if you come from um, if you're a person of color. But I still have to, I mean, I don't know, man. I still have to say that we still are the freest country, regardless of the color or your orientation in the world.
Because
I still believe.
we have it, right? It's written down, and you might say that it's not afforded to everybody, but it can.
It, yeah, I have so much trouble with that because like it's like celebrating 4th of July. and why a lot of people didn't celebrate it, especially around me. Why I personally didn't celebrate it because that celebrates freedom, right?
Hmm.
But when that day happened, we weren't all free.
Yeah.
If Alex was here, he would not have been free,
Yeah. No, I agree with
right?
that point.
But like,
It was also 1776, like
no, I know, but I'm
no one
saying
was
like,
really free.
we can't. I just You can't say that we're the freest country when I don't know what percent Black people make up of our country or Black and Latinos make up of our country, but when that percentage of people isn't free, you can't say that we're the freest country when it has to be what 30, 40%, 30% at most.
Sure.
I don't know the numbers, but
But
I just can't wrap my head around that.
like systemically, how are they not free? Like I understand there's still
Issues.
issues like at the like there are bad cops, bad employers, bad, I mean anyone across any field of work or institutions. There's people who hold prejudices, right? Anywhere in the world. But I
Mm,
still think that at a systemic level, our laws on the majority still afford the freest, most sort of humanitarian experience in the world for anyone of any color or orientation.
Yeah, we've had our like missteps before in the past, and we're still going through some right now.
Like qualified immunity, like that's a terrible misstep. There's no reason why in a court of law it should be harder to prosecute a cop for violating a person's civil liberties. I
mm-hmm,
think Colorado passing legislation to end that and end using certain things like tear gas is a fantastic step in the right direction and a
definitely.
direction that each state should take in turn. But I still think that in comparison to the rest of the world, everywhere in the world, the United States is uh, the freest country.
Yeah. I get what you're saying, but I just can't agree with it at all
No, it's
because
fine, man. I want you to
no,
disagree with me. Yeah. Yeah.
it's just like it's just if you there's just so many things I could say right now. When it comes to the cultural, systemic, and just kind of like this, like the view of a Black person in America from our inception, the inception of the U.S. There's been this hatred and disdain and animalistic view of Black people, and that hasn't gone away. After World War II, when I forget the fucking bill or whatever it's called, but if you were like a GI, you got paid out certain things.
Oh, sure.
If you were a Black GI, you didn't get that.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. Um. What
Well, I
else?
guess that also contributes to the whole generational wealth issue, right? Because
Yeah, I thought it was
that's when
generational wealth.
that's when a lot of the you know kind of home ownership for common Americans kind of started up when the U.S. had that post-war boom. But that's interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah. And if you look at like in the '90s, like with stop and frisk,
Hmm.
I wasn't getting stopped. Who was though?
Right. Yeah.
People look like
People of
you.
color. Yeah. Yeah.
So like,
No, I agree. I agree. There are a lot of stigmas and perceptual changes that still exist and still will exist for a while. But
and like basic things like if it's 2 o'clock in the morning and you're walking down the street, you'll hear countless stories of someone who said, "Oh, I saw this big ass Black guy," and I crossed the street because I was nervous.
mhm,
But you wouldn't say I saw this big ass white guy. You would say I saw a white guy
yeah.
because there's no issue with it. But because people, there's like that odds of it, that fear of it.
Hmm.
I'm not saying that's what you guys think or how like normal people think, but there's still
But it exists.
that exists, and that's not freedom.
Okay. I can see what you mean there. From a cultural like standpoint, the way that we perceive people of color is still an issue that remains. But I think just from the laws that are codified in our government and the civil liberties that exist and civil rights and the progress that we've made since the 1960s, I still have to say Like, I mean, especially when I talk to my parents who were both born into military dictatorships, right? That we are the most free country in the world. I mean, Brazil in itself is, if you think the treatment of Black Americans in the United States is terrible, in Brazil it's a whole nother level. It's cruel. It's merciless. I mean, the favelas in
Aren't they
itself.
censoring the media in Brazil too?
I don't know. I mean, Bolsonaro in the way that he's dealing with Corona, and well, the way that he deals with all issues, right? It's like taking Trump's rhetoric and putting it on steroids. You know, he just doesn't care. I don't think they are. I still keep in touch with my family down there. I haven't heard that, but I may be wrong. I just may have not heard that yet. But
Mhm.
but still, like, there are plenty of other places in the world where the Black existence is worse than in the United States. And that doesn't mean that we should get a free pass. Oh, we're better than things that are worse, right? That's like a lazy way of saying, like, oh, I'm really shit at I don't know, doing math. But Jack, you're worse than me, so it makes me feel better.
Yeah,
That shouldn't be a free pass. But at the same time, I think we should still count the wins that we've had and count the certain freedoms that we have, and not put them in the waste bin just because.
What Tarek and I talked about on an earlier episode is that it would be incorrect to look at history and see all the wins we had, to see all the good things that we had. It would also be incorrect to look at history and only see the bad things, right? If you take away a romanticized view, take away a pessimistic view of where you live, and just have a realistic view, I
Mhm.
would say that we are progressing.
Skeptical middle ground.
No, I think we've definitely progressed. Like without a doubt, without a shadow of a doubt, we've definitely progressed because, um, I mean, slavery, the Black codes, and Jim Crow aren't a thing anymore. So just looking at that, we've definitely progressed. And you see white people standing up, arm in arm, trying to support the needs of Black people. So we've definitely progressed. That's not what I'm trying to say. But continue. Sorry.
Yeah, no, I wasn't trying to. I don't. We weren't trying to put words in your mouth. We
No, I
we.
know. I know.
Yeah.
I was trying to
Yeah.
agree with you.
No,
You know.
but I agree with your point that there is, like, really an issue of cultural perception, and
Mm-hmm.
that's something that's like the hardest to change, right? Because those cultural perceptions are formed in sometimes in very violent and hateful ways, right?
Yeah.
When you see someone just being blatantly racist, but sometimes they're formed in very innocuous ways, like a passing comment made by a parent, or something that you hear in school, or something that you see on TV, and then these things kind of come together, and then you don't really know where this prejudice may have came from, but it's there, right? So I agree. There is a cultural perception that still needs to be kind of
Would you call it
prejudice.
prejudice?
Prejudice.
What?
Prejudice. It's prejudice.
It's
But can't you
prejudice.
also, like, tomato, prejudice?
No, definitely not. No one's ever said prejudice.
And no one has said prejudice.
Okay. Well,
That's true. That's true, by the way.
yeah. Yeah. Once we get to the third one, then we're gonna definitely end the.
Yeah.
Real
and
talk,
the-
when you said that, like, I was thinking, like, what? I was trying to use context clues, trying to figure out what you meant by that.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I definitely I definitely, like, it's one of those words that, like, I probably have just always said, and no one has corrected me, or everyone just thinks like I said something different, like
Yeah.
a word completely different. So, well, that's what y'all are here for, right?
Tarek's a smart guy. He's probably right.
Yeah, I
That's probably what most people think, right? Like, when we were in high school, and I would, like, okay, not Arturo, but a lot of people in high school, and I would, like, for sure answer a question wrong, I just wouldn't say anything. It's like, well, you should tell me if I'm wrong. I want to know if I'm wrong, especially if I'm saying something like prejudice.
Oh yeah, changing prejudice is hard. I will agree. Changing prejudice might even be harder.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Depends, though.
Yeah. Yeah.
depends what day of the week.
Yeah. Well, Jack, we miss you, man.
I know, I'm just low.
We
I'm trying to come down, but
we're
it's
excited.
like-
If fingers crossed that you do end up still coming back in August, late August. I don't know. It's just like talking over Zoom is nice, but it's not the same.
definitely not. It sucks.
Yeah.
In comparison, because it's like the physical. Like, I mean, you kind of talked about it the last podcast with online dating.
Hmm.
It's just not the same.
Not at all. Not at all. Like even like when I have a UT friend of mine who lives in Dallas, and we Zoom sometimes, but talking in person, it's like a whole different thing, you know. Even if you're having the same conversations,
Yeah.
you just feel it's like hard to explain in words, right? But you just feel different when you're sitting next to a person talking to them.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, yeah. Well,
I guess we're gonna end the podcast here. We'll definitely, if you're not tired of us already, we'll keep on talking. But
I
seems like it's reached the lull, so we'll just cut recording right now.
yeah,
that
But
yeah.
was a
thank
All
you
good
for
right.
listening, guys.
Thank you for coming on, man. Thank you for
Thanks
calling
for
in from
having
New
me, man. I
Jersey.
appreciate it.
Yeah.
It's a good
Yeah.
time. Can't
All
wait to
right.
be back. But in
Well, this has
person.
been our good friend Jack Napoli, or Jack from Napoli, as we like to call him in the 401 circle. It's been a good one. See you later, Jack.
See y'all.
All right, bye.
All right. Yeah, we can just end it here. That was a good conversation.
That was we
That
were
was a
talking
really
for
good
so
conversation.
long.
We
It didn't
have
feel like that long.
2 hours. Jesus fucking Christ.
What 2 hours? I have an hour and 15.
Do you think it's because we started it earlier? But that still doesn't account for.
It wasn't 45 minutes.
Because remember, it always keeps an hour on.
Oh, okay. So an
Yeah.
hour 16. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
I was so
Oh,
confused. I was
that
like, I
didn't
knew
feel
we
like
talked
2
for a
hours.
while, but I didn't think it was that long.
Yeah, to me that didn't feel like 2 hours, so I was
Yeah.
very confused. I think we.
Let me.
You
pause.
see.